We're on Outreach News. And thank you for joining us for this edition of Outreach News. Outreach News is a media blog program that provides awareness of and shares the stories of countless individuals and agencies who provide help to those in need.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this edition of Outreach News. I'm Linda Knox, your host, and I'm thrilled to have our special guest who is here today to talk about a very special and unique outreach. Since 1988, Buses International has been converting buses, box trucks, trailers into mobile medical and dental clinics, food distribution vehicles, shower facilities, classrooms, and other mobile outreach centers. These unique ministry units have been sent around the world to provide free care and aid to the poor and the downtrodden and less fortunate. Buses International currently has active units in 10 countries, including the United States, Mexico, Kenya, Costa Rica, Honduras, and others. And here to talk about this amazing ministry is Todd Rainey. Todd has been serving Buses International since 2003 and is an ordained minister and a graduate of Berean University and has over 11 years of pastoral experience before joining Buses International. Todd is a featured speaker at many retreats and conferences and has preached nationally and internationally in churches of all sizes and denominations. Todd serves as Buses International Director of Administration, coordinates their missions groups and special projects. Todd, welcome.
Thank you, Linda. It's a real honor to be here today.
I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking about today. I am blessed, and I think I've said this on other broadcasts, to be a member of a great church. We have pastors, Pastor Louis and T.N. Cayetan, who really have a strong heart for missions, and I get to reap the benefits as they have people come in who showcase their outreaches, and I was really thrilled to have met you and Reverend Thomas Swartz. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name.
Sikowitz.
Sikowitz, okay. Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago that you guys came, and you had one of these mobile units, and you talked about Buses International, and what was really great about that was I had an opportunity to walk through the unit, and man, I mean, words just can't describe how fantastic is that. Can you tell us a little bit more about Buses International and how you got started with them?
Yeah, back in 1988, a local pastor in the Lorain County area here in Ohio went on a mission trip down to Mexico City. And if you're familiar with that city, over 30 million people, huge complexes, and the city is just enormous, but with that comes lots of garbage. And inside these large garbage dumps, there are literally thousands of people living in the garbage. And Norm and Nancy Beatler, our founders of Buses International, went down there on a mission trip and encountered this little boy who came to the area where they were giving baths to children out of 5-gallon buckets of water. Norm said it was a very hot day, and so he just kind of stepped aside and was watching his wife bathe these children. And this little boy got a bath, and his hair was all creased over, and he got a new shirt on and new shorts, and he was just looking all, spiffy. And he noticed that Norm was watching him. And when he was done, the boy came right up to Norm and just began to speak, and say all kinds of things. And Norm confesses that he didn't know any Spanish at the time. But then the little boy just smiled at him and took his fingers and just began to rub them up and down his new shirt, just as proud as can be. And Norm said he knew exactly what that little boy was saying. Hey, mister, look at me. I'm clean. And that moment had a huge impact upon Norm. He went back to their hotel where they were staying that night, and the Lord woke him up in the middle of the night, and Norm said that he's never had one before and he's never had one since. But that night, God gave him a vision. He dropped a school bus right there in the center of his hotel room and showed him how he can convert that school bus into a mobile shower facility with a medical clinic inside, and how he could take that to the garbage dumps of Mexico City and reach those children. that really was the beginning of Buses International as they came home and they began to share that vision, and Norm was able to build that very first unit, take it to Mexico City, and that was back in 1988. And since then, we have been doing just what you said at the beginning of the broadcast here of taking buses and box trucks and trailers and building them into a variety of different ministry vehicles, all in an effort to help meet the physical needs of people. You know, we really believe that the example that Jesus left with us is to serve first. Mm-hmm. He never required anybody to believe in him before he touched their lives. He, when they were hungry, he had compassion on them and he fed them. When they were sick, he had compassion on them and he healed them. And we really believe that if we reach out with that same love and that same compassion of Jesus and help to meet the physical needs of people, they give us permission to share the gospel of Jesus Christ, and we get opportunities to be able to present the reason why we do what we do. And so since 1988, we've been working in the strength of that vision way back that little boy there in Mexico City.
And that's what's so great. I love ministries that and outreaches that can really show what they do. I mean, it means so much more if you can show the love, and then they would certainly open their hearts to the gospel. You mentioned Norm Beatler, and that just brought back memories. I guess he moved, and he's no longer part of our church, but he's also blessed he was in our congregation as a member, of course, years before I got there, and I just love to hear him preach and speak. He has a wonderful sense of humor, and what a loving and compassionate heart, both he and his wife. And you know, I hate that they're no longer there, but that is true. He started it, and it's just amazing to see how things have been unfolding over the years.
You know, it's always a joy to be able to fulfill Scripture where Jesus says it's more blessed to give than to receive. And so often we go to give something, and we always return more blessed. Just because when you do things in Jesus' names, when you give forth your little loaves and fish, when you put it in the hands of Christ, He makes it something grand, something more than enough to be able to impact people, and it's just it's an honor to serve in this way.
And it's like sowing seed. When you sow a seed, if it's good seed, the harvest that comes back. I think I was reading on your website. I mean, you started. I guess you had one bus or so, but it says here that Buses International has accomplishments of building over 80 ministry units since its inception in 1988. Wow. And I'm sure you guys are probably asked this all of the time, but, I mean, how do you do it? How do you convert these vehicles? And I guess a lot of them are run-down school buses or vehicles. I mean, who does the work? Where does the material come from?
Actually, we do everything right here in Lorain. We have the Lord's given us a building and some land to be able to do everything, and we fabricate everything. When the ministry first started, churches donated their church buses to us. But if you are familiar with church buses, some of them the churches should never even had because they were pretty rough. But through the years, a lot of the countries that we send units to, many of the governments have changed, and now they have a lot of requirements and restrictions, and so the vehicle has to meet all of those before it can be imported into the country and shipped. And so we are very selective now. When we get a project, we find out, like the one that we brought to your church at the time, it's going to Nigeria, Africa. It's a mobile surgical unit. It's an operating room inside the back of a box truck. Well, that unit had to meet all of the governmental requirements of Nigeria, and so we actually had to hunt and find that vehicle. But Linda, one of the neat things is how the Lord orchestrates everything into place. If we need a specific vehicle that has to have a type of engine and has to be a certain year and under a certain amount of miles, the Lord just seems to hold that for us until we can find it, and it's just the perfect vehicle. If there are some mechanical issues, we work on them right there in our shop in Lorain, and every project is different. Whether it's a dental clinic, we have a network of dentists in the area that donate equipment to us, that allow us to be able to use some of the state-of-the-art equipment. Everything you would find in a dental office, you'll find inside one of our dental units. A lot of the hospitals and doctors in the area. In fact, Kaiser Permanente just have donated over 20 tons of medical equipment to us this year alone.
Wow.
That we've been able to use, and not only in our units, but then to send overseas to missionaries and other ministries that would need medical equipment. And so the Lord kind of works everything out and brings us the resources that we need. The unit that you saw, that you walked through, the mobile surgical unit for Nigeria, there were 15 different local companies in the northern Ohio area that heard about what we were doing, and they wanted to participate. They would. Some of them donated product. All the raw steel that we used to weld onto the unit, that was donated by Aztec Steel right here in Elyria. The air conditioning units, they were installed by a local company, Anderson Heating and Cooling. They came out and donated their time and their expertise in hooking all of that up. All of the insulation that was blown into the walls to provide, a good cooling efficiency was donated by a company out of the side of Cleveland. And so the Lord just kind of brought a network together so that the unit could be built, that it can be sent, so that people can receive care and know the gospel of Jesus Christ. And for me, that just really gets me going, and I just see how the Lord is just orchestrating everything. I sit back and say, wow, God, you are amazing.
And you can always tell when God's in the plan. I mean, believe me, listeners, when I tell you, you'd have to see these units to believe it. I mean, pictures don't do justice. You can go on the website, and it's www.busesinternational.org, and they have some wonderful pictures up. But I walked through this facility, and of course it's the size of the bus. It's not like a huge operating room or whatever, but everything looks so state-of-the-art. I could not believe it. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. And I wanted to ask you, and you've kind of, I guess, touched on that, and then you have a lot of people who will donate. So if somebody's listening and they're thinking, well, gee, I didn't know about this, and maybe we can contribute, how would they contact you if they wanted to maybe donate their time in working on the vehicles or have materials and supplies? How would they contact you?
Sure. We are located in Lorain, Ohio. We can be found on the web, like you said, and email and contacted through our website.